Yes, I can see you. I can hear you. Everything is okay.
Okay.
Everything is okay. So let's start. Everyone is with us and people can still join. Hi everyone. Welcome to our fourth webinar of the Meet the Peacemaker, a woman leadership series that is hosted by Interact. My name is Yael. I'm from Jerusalem, Israel. I'm a tour guide. So since the 7th of October 7, I'm unemployed, like all tour guides in Israel. When I work with Majdi tours. I do political tours. I do dual narrative. It means that I guide with a co-guide that is Palestinian, and we do Israel-Palestine tours. And we see that as, we work for that, but we are peace activists as well. When I don't work, and now I don't work, I have time to be an activist. I volunteer in a Bedouin village called Khan El Ahmar. Maybe you heard about that. It's a very small village that is under risk of is under threat of demolish, and yeah, it's a big story. I'm there and I work with the women. I'm already 5 years volunteering with the women. We do those dolls with them, so it adds a lot of joy and some income for the women. And when there are some political issues, we are always there to help them. And more than that, I drive sick Palestinian kids from checkpoints to hospitals in Israel. So I try to be involved. I try to help wherever I can. And I deeply believe in a personal relationship. I think that if more Palestinians will know Israelis and more Israelis will know Palestinian, life can be much better here. So maybe I'm naive, but I believe in those things. And hopefully things will get here better and I can start working again. Interact is a sister non-profit organization of Majdi Tours. Interact uses storytelling, art, and technology to help people connect across war terms, divides, whether those divides are political, cultural, ethnic, religious, geographic, or socioeconomic. Our moderator today will be Tahija Vikalo. I hope I pronounced your name right, Tahija. Tahija Vikalo is the executive director of Sisterhood of Salaam-Shalom, has a rich background in academia, international development, and peace building. Born in Bosnia and Herzegovina, she pursued her education in the United States, earning both her undergraduate and master's degree in anthropology from the University of Pennsylvania. Her academic research developed into Sufism in the Balkan, exploring its historical impact on social order and politicals in the region. With a 20 years professional career, Tahija works across nonprofit organizations, international development, and education. Her extensive travel to the Middle East and Europe have allowed her to engage in diverse communities. She is passionate about inclusion, diversity, social justice, and gender equality within Muslim American circles. Tahija resides in Bala Cynwyd, Pennsylvania, sharing her commitment and interfaith with dialogue and education with her daughter. So, Tahija, you can take over now, please. Let's hear you.
Thank you so much, Yael. That was more than I expected you would share about me.
It was challenging because I didn't speak English for 4 months. I'm not an English speaker, and suddenly I say, whoops, I lost it. So it's nice until I'm back to business. So good luck, and let's have this interesting evening going on.
And thank you so much for all your work you're doing. That's when you're working and when you're not working, it sounds like you're working a lot. So
trying to do my best in these really challenging days, very, very challenging and sad days.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I just want to welcome everybody. Even though I don't see our audience, I know you're out there, and thank you for joining us. It's really my honor and pleasure to be today with two amazing women. from Israeli and Palestinian women. I will share more about them, but I just wanted to mention that we are the Sisterhood of Salaam-Shalom. My own organization is fits really well in this conversation and the goals of these movements, because we are building that sort of friendship, politics of friendship. We're building communication with each other and trying to see how do we take more action and how do we develop deeper understanding with each other. So I'm just going to read briefly the bios of our speakers today. With us is Dr. Yael Braudo-Bahat. She is one of the two co-directors of Women Wage Peace since March 2020. She's responsible for resource development, cultivating and maintaining relations with organizations and supporters in Israel and abroad, and supervising Women Wage Peace activity on mainstream and social media. She also works closely with Palestinian peace activists. Dr. Braudo-Bahat obtained a PhD in law from Tel Aviv University, where she also served as a lecturer, research assistant, and associate editor of the International Legal Journal, Theoretical Inquiries in Law. So welcome, Yael.
Thank you.
And our second speaker is Huda Abuarquob. It's nice to see you again, Huda. Huda has years of experience in conflict resolution, NGO leadership, and social change education and activism, as well as a lifelong commitment to building strong people-to-people Israeli-Palestinian relations. She is a well-known speaker on issues related to Middle East politics and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. After studying conflict transformation and peace studies as a Fulbright scholar, she worked as an executive director, a program director, and an NGO consultant to a number of organizations in the US, Israel, and Palestine. Previously, Huda worked as a teacher, trainer, and a consultant for the Palestinian Ministry of Education for 15 years. She earned her MA in Conflict Transformation and Peace Studies from Eastern Mennonite University and her BA in Education for Social Change from Al-Quds Open University in Jerusalem. And I love this last part. Huda is the oldest of 12 children, the daughter of respected Palestinian educators, and an aunt to 22 nieces and nephews. So she was born in Jerusalem and now resides in Hebron. So welcome both. It is such an honor and pleasure to be with both of you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tahija. It's always a pleasure to see you again. It's been a while. Thank you for moderating tonight.
Absolutely. No, my pleasure to be in this company. So I just wanted to start with asking you both to share a little bit more. I read I'm sure it's just a few words about your who you are and what you do. And if you can share more about yourselves, and as well as what is your life like at this moment with everything that is going on.
Huda, please.
I was waiting for you to do that. Certainly, these are very difficult times. They are not new for us as women in the field, but they are much more intense, and they are igniting all kinds of conflicts around us, threats on our safety and security, even the fact that we sometimes lose our jobs or relationships because of it. But the most challenging part is how war and violence and leaders who do not know how to be human beings can actually turn the entire work into a very challenging moment. And I will start with something that I have been grappling with for a long time. I had questions from people.
Huda, I am so sorry to interrupt you. Can you just share a little bit more about you? I'm sure people would love to hear from you and your work. And just before we jump into that, if you could just share a little bit more so that people get to know you better.
Well, I think you covered it all in my bio, but there is an update about the number of nieces and nephews.
I was wondering.
Yeah, it's more than that now, and that's why it's also important to continue to believe that we can bring peace and security and freedom and justice to them, so they don't live what we are living now. I live in Dura near Hebron. The latest that happened to me a few weeks ago is that I witnessed a woman killed in front of my eyes, and I didn't know what to do. And this whole question about protection and security for women in a conflict zone becomes more and more relevant every day. We lose children and women in this insane war. I am, as you mentioned in the bio, someone who believes that only people can bring peace to each other because it's a need. It's not a political game. It's not a political gain. It's not a campaign for political reasons. It's a need, and no one more than women understands that need. I am 53 years old, and I've never experienced any kind of security in my life. I don't know what it means to live in safety and security. I don't know what it means to drive on roads without being attacked. I don't know what it means to sleep at night without your home being raided. So, and maybe this is one of the reasons why I declined to be a mother, because I don't know how mothers do it in this time. It's just, the pain is impossible. I tried since 2014, when I rejoined the peace building field, to expand it, to bring more women into the conversation, to bring religion into the conversation, to bring youth into the conversation, to make sure that we are providing experiences for Palestinians and Israelis that humane them rather than dehumanize them. I worked so hard on combating narratives of victimhood and celebrating narratives of survivorhood. As you mentioned, also, I worked on as part of the Palestinian national team who created the first ever Palestinian educational system and curriculum. We didn't have that in the past, and I am still very proud of that experience. I was a teacher supervisor. I visited Palestinians in places where they didn't have even access to water. And I still, until October, heard women and men, youth, young and old, telling me that the only strategy for us to survive and maintain our existence as Palestinians is peace. And unfortunately, this is not the case anymore. And we need to find something else to give hope for the Palestinians. And again, the question I'm grappling with is, our movement as women could not free one Palestinian woman from the Israeli prison. And this is the question that people are challenging me with. A long history of women's movement, whether they are on the Palestinian side or the Israeli side or co-movements, we couldn't advocate for the release of one Palestinian female prisoner. And Hamas did, using violence. I want everybody to help us answer that question. How could we advocate for peace in an environment that is filled with structural violence and injustice? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Huda, and thank you for sharing so much. And we are all witnessing things that are happening via media and all that, but seeing someone lose their life in front of you is a very, very difficult experience. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for these difficult questions as well. So I hope we get deeper into that after we hear from Yael. Go ahead, Yael.
So first of all, I want to hug Huda. We hugged in person, how was it, 4 months ago on October 4th. We were together in Jerusalem and the Dead Sea, marching together, calling for peace, vast support from all over the world. Since then, we weren't able to meet because all checkpoints are closed, and I really miss you. So hugs and my love from here. I didn't share it in my bio, so I will share it now. I have 2 kids. They're grown, they're not so kids now anymore. They're 22 and 19. And they are definitely one of the major reasons that I do what I'm doing in Women Wage Peace for the past 7.5 years, and for the past 4 years as a full-time worker and a co-director in Women Wage Peace. I'm also a daughter of my father was post-traumatic because of war, and he committed suicide 31 years ago when I was 16. And it took me a while to understand that. It took me a few years of peace activism to understand that I'm doing it for him as well, and for my mother, who carried for so many years his pain and his agony. And they raised us all. I have 2 siblings. They raised us really with the knowledge that we can do whatever we choose to do, and we need to do good in this world. And this is the legacy of them. I live in the center of Israel. So you asked how I'm doing these days. I feel, relatively safe because, I live in the center. We don't have missiles, almost don't have missiles anymore. We had at the beginning of the war. I have a safe room in my house. And I work day and night for this war and this conflict to end in a political agreement, because we just cannot go on living like this. We just want a better future for our children, for the next generations, whether they're our biological children or all the children in the region. Everyone deserves a better future here. And having said that, of course, I'm scared, I'm terrified, I'm grieving. We lost so many loved and wonderful people on October 7th, and then also later. My heart goes with the Palestinian women, men, and children in Gaza, in the West Bank. They're my sisters. We're grieving Vivian Silver. And I need to mention her. Vivian, she was considered kidnapped for the first more than 30 days into the war, until her remains, her ashes, were identified. And we realized that she was murdered in her house in Kibbutz Be'eri on October 7th. Vivian was a mentor. She was one of the co-founders of Women Wage Peace, and she was a mentor for so many of us. And for me personally, almost everything I know about research development, which is my role in the movement, one of them, I learned from Vivian. And she is with us all the time, but we're missing her deeply. And we're also worried about the hostages that are still being held in Gaza. We don't know what's going on with them. We don't know who of them is alive, who is dead, and we want their safe return as soon as possible. So this is me.
Thank you, Yael. Thank you. These deep sharings are so important for us to connect and also understand the depth of our dedication for creating a better society and a better future. And I have to comment on this, just hearing both of you. That there is something about that women's empathy and how we look at the world, that you're both expressing this so selflessly, that I'm working for future generations. So it's really not even about us right now, right here and right now. It is for our children and our future generations. So thank you both for sharing that. What I wanted to ask you at some point about Vivian, and I'll just, so because you brought her up, I'll ask you now, if you could just share some of the main elements or main points of her vision and her legacy that she really kind of lived through her life. I just wanted to mention that. Go ahead.
Of course, and if there's time, if you'd like, at the end of our session, I can show a short 2 minutes video clip that we made in her honor. 2 weeks ago, she was supposed to celebrate her 75th birthday, and we visited her grave, and we promised her that we're continuing in her footsteps. And Vivian, she was a peace activist for many decades. She was also a feminist activist. And as a peace activist, she was she really cared both in Israel and with the Palestinians, that equality prevails, justice and peace, because she knew she lived near the Gaza border, and she had a stake, a very personal stake in resolving the conflict, and she was active and board member of many organizations. She was one of the co-founders of Ajik Mistak, a very impressive NGO in the Negev, in the south of Israel, working on and promoting the rights and equality between Jews and Arabs and Israelis and Palestinians. She was one of the co-founders of Women Wage Peace in 2014. And what she said is that this conflict needs to end with a political solution, because we cannot go on one war after another, and living in the south of Israel, near the Gaza border. She was really like 100 meters from the border. Her house was she knew what the prices of the war, of the conflicts are. Because the conflict was being managed for more than 20 years. The conflict is very long, but for the past 20 years or so, the policy was to manage the conflict, not to resolve it, not to make any efforts to resolve it. So what does it mean to manage the conflict? It means that every once in a while, missiles hit the kibbutzim, the area around the Gaza border. Sometimes it goes a little bit north. Sometimes it reaches Tel Aviv in extreme occasions. And then there are some talks behind the curtains. There are some suitcases with money, and everything calms down for the next few weeks or months or so. And this is unbearable. This means living for Vivian. It was living in a constant war zone. So she was very, very active to resolve the conflict, both for her. She really cared about her Palestinian neighbors just across the fence, and she also cared about her community and her children and grandchildren. She was also driving, as Yael herself. Also, she was driving sick people, mostly children, from Gaza to Israeli hospitals to receive medical care. And the fact that she and many like her who were peace activists were murdered on the 7th of October is really unbearable. It's just absurd. And just to say that for us, continuing her legacy, her footsteps, continuing footsteps means that we don't stop until we reach an agreement. As she always said, we keep warning that if the conflict is not resolved with a political agreement, as she all the time she warned, things will be very, very bad. I don't think she imagined how bad, how tragic it was going to happen. But we'll continue to shout wherever we can, and we'll follow. And she paved us the path to peace.
Thank you, Yael. I think it's very important to keep in mind all of her work for peace and political solution to what is happening on the ground, but also, even more so, her dedication to justice, to equality, is incredible, and we need to keep that in mind. Huda, I know that both of you were involved in founding of Women Wage Peace that's I hope I'm correct, but that's I think that's it's
Huda more than
important.
me.
I'm sorry.
No, I joined activism later, so Huda is knows women wage peace longer than myself.
Yes, it's sorry, yes, exactly. Chronologically, you were not together, but you are related both to women wage peace. So I know that it is just one of your many ways of trying to contribute to the resolution of the situation in Palestine and Israel. What I wanted to if you can tell us a little bit about the beginnings of women wage peace. And I don't know if you can tie in. I really always think it's important to hear about your politics of acquaintance, and which very, very much resonates with the work that the Sisterhood of Salaam-Shalom does. So if you can just give us a little bit of the background to the organization and the goals.
Thank you, Tahija. I just want to stop here and make everyone remember that there are 30,000 Palestinians who have been killed already, and more 70% of them are women and children, and every life counts. Every life has the same legacy just Vivian had. They were people who just wanted to live in a dignified way, who have to have freedom, to have, and this is not the only war that happened to them. And Vivian was one of the people who joined after the 2014 war on Gaza with other Israeli women who wanted this to stop, because there are Palestinian lives on the other side that needs to be dignified and mentioned in the same way. I'm sorry that, you know, I'm just shaking by the experience I had. And I think in a conversation like this, we need to name things as they are. And you can hear that I'm very emotional, because even if someone is watching this and seeing that, as a Palestinian, I am more focused on the well-being of the Israelis, but not mentioning the Palestinians, this would put me in a very difficult position. But this is not what I'm doing. I think the Palestinians from the get-go joined every attempt to bring peace, a dignified agreement that guarantees the Palestinian people freedom and justice. And unfortunately, the spoilers were always people who have much more access to funding and much more access to guns. And they were also the ones who threatened our lives all through the process. But also, we need to understand that there is an attempt that happened since 1995 to sabotage the entire two-state solution. And the people who killed Rabin are the people who are ruling Israel now. And nothing has been done by the international society or the Israelis themselves as partners to change that. So in 2014, the war happened again on Gaza, 51 days of the war on Gaza. And women came together from Israel and they sought my advice on it. Most of them are on the left side of politics. And again, I'm sorry to the left side of politics in Israel. I think it has been compromised. And sometimes I say the left has left Israel. It couldn't continue to survive in that environment. They came to me and they asked if they can formulate another group of women or men or organization that can work to bring peace. And my question to them was, as a Palestinian, I don't think that we Palestinians need another organization doing the same thing. We want an organization in Israel that speaks to the Israelis, to the pockets of the Israeli society, to the marginalized in the Israeli society, to the most extreme in the Israeli society, about the occupation without mentioning the occupation, because we didn't want to shut doors, and about the military occupation, but also talking about the Jewish values that brings people together and is supposedly designed to support people's lives, and never again, not only for the Jewish people, but also for other people who are suffering from oppression. And we designed, Vivian was one of the people who stayed with us for 2 days in Tantur, imagining, thinking, creating the theory of change. And I do remember the email she sent to me afterwards, and it's still with me, that this is the first time that she feels that there is a different energy that could actually lead to some sort of change within the Israeli society, because the change needed to happen on the Israeli society. Women Wage Peace started with a group of women who had good intentions, almost no money or no connections. And now it's more than 50,000 members of the Israeli society. I traveled with them in the first 2 years all over the world. I challenged my work environment in order to give them support. I had the support of women on the board of the organization that I was working on in order to continue working with Women Wage Peace. And I have to be honest, Women Wage Peace opened through this work many venues for the Palestinian and Israeli women who are just mothers. At the end of the day, they are mothers and they want their children alive. Some of these mothers, the Palestinian mothers, they want their kids' bodies to bury. Like their kids' bodies are hostages in Israel prisons. And they want peace. They want to send them off in peace. And we, even that privilege, we are not getting it. We need the world to acknowledge that we are full human beings and we deserve life, we deserve security, we deserve justice, we deserve freedom. We're not the forgetting people of God. We are people of God. And we have right to exist. And our women have the right for protection. And they also have the right to express their opinions. They have the right to join movements that speaks their language and advocates for their rights. And that's why I accepted to work with Women Wage Peace, continue to support them, continue to find, even in these difficult times, which sometimes would compromise my own safety, this is the time for us to stand strong and ask the whole world to stop being polarized, taking sides of the Israelis or the Palestinians, and stand with the Palestinian and Israeli women who literally want to bury their kids in peace or raise them in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Huda, so much. And I'm so glad we feel, I can feel your emotion, and we all feel very similarly. I just want to share with you. And I just want to clarify that not in any way did I not want to mention. I was just hoping we get there. It is incredibly hard to be, especially sitting on this side of the ocean and watching 30,000 people being killed, and children, especially children and women. So I completely understand the depth of your emotion at the moment, and thank you for emphasizing that. So
I would like to add a little bit about Women Wage Peace, and thank you.
Yes.
Huda really can testify what happened when I was not there yet. I just followed from afar, and I joined as an activist right after the March of Hope in 2016, where I saw this, photo of thousands of Israeli and Palestinian women marching together in the desert. And I saw it and I said, I need to be a part of it. I mean, this is history. It can happen. And this is what drove me to join as an activist for the first time in my life as a political activist to Women Wage Peace. And just to continue what Huda began telling about Women Wage Peace, and indeed for us, it's really important. The diversity is really important. So we have members from all parts of Israeli political map, and from all walks of Israel. Not all, but we aspire to have women from all walks of life in Israel, and with all political opinions and orientations, because everyone wants peace. Everyone wants peace. It's not a matter of right and left. It's not a matter of religious or secular. So we have all in Women Wage Peace. We also have many Israeli Arabs in Women Wage Peace. Some of them in leading positions in the movement. Again, very important for us, both for to promote equality and shared society within Israel, but also because we learned in the past years, in the past 10 years of activism, that Israeli Arab, Israeli Palestinian women are the bridge to peace, because they know not only the language, both languages, and can translate, but they also translate the culture. And as our relationships with Palestinian and the partnership with Palestinian peace activists grow and intensify, this role of Israeli Arabs, Israeli Arab women becomes even more crucial. They bridge the gap in all sense of this word. So this is Women Wage Peace, and again we work within Israel vis-a-vis Israeli public and Israeli decision makers. We leave the Palestinian society and Palestinian decision makers to our Palestinian sisters. We work in partnership. We have projects together. We have events together. But each movement, we're separate. We're working in Israel to convince Israeli public in our own language, with our own messages, that peace is not only possible, but it's crucial. And we just saw what happens when peace, when the conflict continues.
Thank you, Yael. Thank you. I mean, from everything we heard, this is we are talking a lot about mothers and women, and I know that I was reading Mother's Call petition that the Women Wage Peace. I mean, a lot of it is really an incredible. It's set of incredible calls to everybody that we can all stand by and reiterate. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about Mother's Call, and also what is happening now? What are you experiencing in terms of this work? I understand that the people came together, and I have to say a lot of organizations in the US are experiencing similar tensions and difficulties. So what is happening at this moment with this? And I was wondering if Mother's Call is being used even at this moment to emphasize your goals.
Yes, absolutely. For us, the Mother's Call is our vision and mission. We drafted it together. Can you imagine? It was 3 or 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we drafted it together, sitting a couple of dozens of Israeli and Palestinian peace activists we were so diverse around the table, both within the Palestinian group and the Israeli group, and we first of all we try to see if we can talk and reach this document, this text that can unite us, because we said that if we cannot agree on this, we cannot expect our leaders to begin negotiations. So we sat down and tried. It took us I think 5 or 6 meetings over 9 months, and we discussed each and every word, not because we argued about things, but more because we needed to understand. I remember the translator stopping every once in a while and saying, I need to explain the Israelis when the Palestinians say security, what they mean, and vice versa, because of cultural differences, because of different perspectives, terms like security, like welfare, like community, like education, when we say, or freedom, when Israelis say, they mean one thing, when Palestinians say they mean another thing. And we did manage to give birth to this text, which later became our Mother's Call. And this is the basis for many activities, many petitions that we hold with our Palestinian sisters, projects that we hold together, training women from both sides to become peace activists, to become peace agents in their communities. And this is our really the fundamental vision of the Israeli and Palestinian peace activists, peace women. because and motherhood in this regard is not specifically the biological sense, right? It's the political sense of motherhood, the taking care of both societies, taking care of this region, because we know as mothers that there is no future for this region without peace. If we go on fighting, we keep on fighting, there is no future for this region. So for us, the Mother's Call is just when we wake up in the morning, this is what we do. This is why we do it.
Thank you, Yael. Huda, would you like to comment on that?
The idea also was inspired by women who, again, and I have to mention Fadi and his mom from a refugee camp here in the West Bank. Fadi was killed in front of his house, and his mom is waiting for his body for 2 years now, I think, to be buried. And this is one of the ways for women in Palestine to try and get the international community to see them and see their plight by engaging themselves with work with Israeli women who also are advocating for the Palestinian women's rights. And, you know, at the end of the day, no one can argue with a mother's pain. We cannot, you know, even if we want to justify it by framing everybody in Palestine as a terrorist, I don't think any mother in the world would go to sleep and put her head on the pillow and think, yes, they deserve to be killed because they are terrorists. The pain mothers, and again, I am lucky not to be a mother, I am an aunt, and I could be a mother for many Palestinian children who now more than 17,000 of them have no, more than 10,000 of them have no parents in Gaza. And I'm driving now, all of my energy is the mother energy towards those orphans who were left with nobody. But no one should argue with mothers' call for peace. No one should accuse them of being naive. No one should think that this is coming from a place of privilege. It's coming from a place of need, and it must be heard. And I think the world, instead of, again, I'm calling on the world and the Americans specifically, not to be divided over Palestine and Israel by trying to lump one side or frame one side as a terrorist and the other as whatever. They need to stand with mothers who want life. I don't care what the solution would be at the end of the day. There is a fact on the ground that there are women who are not secured, who don't feel safe, and they want their kids to have life. How can we argue with that? How can we frame it in any other way than a human need? And this is what I'm asking people to do, to support the mother's call for an agreement. And I'm telling you, at some point, when our leaders are going to meet and sit on the table and shake hands, no one will remember those who were buried under the ground. No one will bring the pain of mothers to that table. We need to bring that. We need to hijack any work on policy or the day after or an agreement now. And we cannot do it alone as Palestinian and Israeli women, because we are being accused of being normalizers or being traitors or whores working with because it's easy to frame women all the time. They are the weakest link in any patriarchal society. But women have to get themselves together and hijack every policy circle now and bring that voice now. And I need the whole world to support the Palestinian and Israeli women who want to do that. And this is what Women Wage Peace want to do. And this is what Palestinian women want to do. Women who are not from the elite, by the way, in Palestine.
Thank you, Huda. Thank you. That's very, very powerful. And it really sends a message to us here in the US as well, to keep learning from you and keep learning what we need to focus on here. So I am sorry to say this, but we have only 10 minutes left for the program. So I just wanted to, I will ask, I see a lot of questions coming from the audience and I want to honor some of that. So I will there are some comments, and I will share with both of you, and if you can both can comment on that. One comment says, first, my heart goes out to both of you, and yes, Huda's pain is felt. My question is, how much support is there within Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza for peace, for ceasefire, and figuring out a solution?
So I'll tell about the Israeli side. It's very hard to tell right now. I can say that until October 7th, our biggest challenge was not necessarily the ones opposed to peace in Israel, but the ones who were just indifferent to the conflict. They didn't live. The conflict was not a part of their day-to-day life. It didn't bother them. Some, everyone wants peace. Of course, we want peace, but there is no partner on the other side. It's not possible. So we had to deal with indifference. We had to deal with skeptic people. Now it's very different. It's very polarized. We can see that no one can be indifferent to the conflict now in Israel. This is the basic starting point for us as Women Wage Peace, and we will have to remap Israeli society to know exactly what strategies to take and what messages to make. But what we can say is that we identify this polarization. On the one hand, you can find people who were indifferent and now they think that it's not possible, and some would say, they thought that it's not necessary, it's not possible, and now they say we are destined to just continue fighting each other until eternity, and this is how we need to live. And this is how we need to continue. But on the other hand, you can find many Israelis who understood that mostly indifferent, or those who thought that peace, okay, it's nice to have, but it's not really important, saying that peace is crucial, it's urgent, and we saw what happens without it. And some of them are they lost their parents, like Vivian's son, like Jonathan, like Maoz Inon, who lost his parents on October 7th. They became peace activists following October 7th, and you can find many other peace activists who feel much stronger about it. And me personally, and my colleagues in Women Wage Peace, we say, we just everyone says so. So now you woke up, right? And now you see the reality and said, yes, we see the reality. The reality is that it's even more urgent and more crucial to reach a solution, because if it doesn't happen, if we continue to this war or continue to manage the conflict after this war is over, then another October 7th would happen, and things will be much worse for everyone here in this region. And we know that there are enough moderate forces in this region, within Israeli and Palestinian societies, and even within Israeli Palestinian leadership, and the region, Arab countries, the Abraham Accord countries, the world, Europe, and America. There are so many moderate forces and the entities that we can collaborate with, that can facilitate and encourage and promote the process. And it just needs to happen. So we need a world with us, as Huda said, promoting peace. So this is how we see Israeli society. And again, we will need to remap what's happening now to know exactly how to approach it. But we are more certain than ever that it's crucial and necessary.
Thank you so much, Yael. Go ahead, Huda.
Tahija, I will answer quickly. Listen to the appeals coming from children in Gaza, and you know that it's not just a political statement. It's people who need who need peace and need a ceasefire. I think the world is the one that doesn't want peace in Palestine and Israel. The world that is heavily involved in not bringing Israel to a place where it agrees on a ceasefire, that arms the structures that uses violence against innocent people, the international community, that their politicians are using this war in order to gain political gains. and the silence that we are experiencing from the international community. I am sitting on many emotions at this moment, but one of them is anger. How could the world see what's happening and question whether the Palestinians want peace or not? Peace for the Palestinians is not a negotiating thing. It's a need. It's a need coming from women and children on daily basis and on their appeals to the world. We're watching people in Gaza children dying of famine, of hunger, and no one is doing anything. So that I would say that most of the Palestinians and Israelis want peace, but the world doesn't want peace. The world that takes sides and supports arming one party over the other, that doesn't want peace. The politicians who are using this war and mothers' pain in order to win elections are the ones who don't want peace. The Palestinians and Israelis in their majority want peace, but the leaders don't want peace. And this is the time for us to change the leaders, not only in Palestine and Israel, but in the entire world that watches this happens, the slaughter of people, and do nothing.
Thank you, Huda. I just want to respond with saying that it does feel like a lot of silence. It does feel like the world is not supporting in any way so peaceful solution. But at the same time, I have to tell you that there is a lot of activism going on in the US, and a lot of day after day after day, things are happening here to keep this issue very much in front of everybody, and the urgency of it.
I want to thank you for mentioning that, because this is not going without being noticed. But at the end of the day, we want the whole world to stand by the Palestinian and Israeli women in order to stop this war. And this is not going to happen without changing the political regimes in the world. The political leaders who are watching this and not even listening to their own people. We are not living in any kind of democracy in this world when leaders are being called on by their constituencies to stop the war and demand a ceasefire, and the United States vetoes it.
That actually, I was just reading another comment. So there is really, people are asking a lot of good questions and giving a lot of good comments. And one of them is, what do you see as the USA's role, either as a government or as American women, individuals, towards promoting the peace process?
I want to say that, first of all, as Huda said, the polarization damages. It inflicts. It really. It's so awful, because when you say either pro-Israel, pro-Palestine, it means the defeat of the other side, and we don't want. No one. I mean, I wouldn't say no one, but most Israelis and Palestinians don't want the defeat of the other. They want just to live here together in this region without fighting. For us, peace. No, it doesn't have to be. It's not going to be hugs and kisses on the streets, right? In Northern Ireland, they have a peace for 25 years. They don't like each other, and it's okay, but they don't kill each other. And this is what we want here in this region. So stop polarizing. Stop being pro-Israel, pro-Palestine. Begin being pro-peace and pro-women, because women can bring about the change. And as I said, specifically U.S. government, but also all governments, all countries in the world who see themselves responsible for the lives here in this region should promote, facilitate, encourage, and begin negotiations. It won't happen just from scratch. It won't happen. We need the support of everyone in the world, including the U.S.
I will second that. The polarization and also adopting political schemes, such as if the hostages are released, the killing will stop. It's not true. It's a policy in Israel that started way before October 7th. And if I am, as a Palestinian, will not testify to that, then the whole world also will not listen to it. The people will be victims of propaganda of who owns more money and who owns more power in this world. the killing of the Palestinians didn't stop since ages, and it was always justified, always justified. This time we're seeing that there is a good reason for it. The hostages are human beings, and I want them to be released. And I know that there were people trying to negotiate their release, but the power mongers who want to kill people in order to stay in power are the problem. And this is the mission of the Israelis. It's a challenge for the Israelis more than anyone else to change the leadership in Israel. The leadership in Palestine is weak, is destroyed completely on the Palestinian Authority side. And I believe in Hamas also after this war, even if there is a propaganda that Hamas is winning. Who would claim winning after killing 30,000 people, and not to mention the ones who under the rebel, and destroying an entire society that lived there for years, for hundreds of years? Who would even dare to claim victory? So I just want people to understand that this is a conversation not about political statements, about people and their need to live in security and safety as equals. And there is no one on this earth deserves to be treated less.
Thank you, Huda. I think what we are experiencing here is what you're both emphasizing, that polarization. It's either or, zero sum of things, which is really, really difficult situation and difficult issue to address. So hearing from both of you that's not what Israelis or Palestinian, majority of Israelis and Palestinians want is very important. I'm trying to see, I just want to make a quick comment that the Sisterhood early on issued a statement asking for cessation of violence, and we are continuing to ask for that. I want to share that we realize that as women, if we are not asking for peace and stopping of violence, then what is our purpose, right? So we added to our name Women for Peace. So we're Sisterhood of Salaam-Shalom, or Women for Peace. So this comment reminded me, and we will need to probably wrap up soon. So someone is commenting that some municipalities are passing resolutions for ceasefire here in the US, and that activity is going on as well. Sorry, I'm just trying. And a lot of people are just sharing their emotions, saying how much they feel for both of you, how much they feel for the people who are who lost their lives, who are starving, who are in a very, very difficult situation. And I just want to end with one of the comments that was just shared. It says, "I'm grateful to you all. My heart is heavy, and I pray for peace for all parties." I want to thank you both so much for this and for your life dedication to this work, and for making Israel and Palestine a place where people can live equally and in justice and in sharing that piece of land together. So thank you so much. And I'm hoping we keep hearing from you so we can learn and do more things here in the US. So it was my pleasure and my honor to speak with both of you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate
Huda,
it.
I really hope that we can meet soon. I really miss you.
I miss you too, and we will see each other. This will end. Nightmare.
I remember this moment in Bejala a few months ago when I didn't feel good, and I went to another room, and Huda came after me, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I told her no, and she told me, "You need to take care of yourself." So I'm hugging you and telling you, and please take care of yourself. We need each other, and the peace needs us. So we're together here.
And I really hope and pray that I have a chance sometime soon to give you hugs, both of you, in person.
Thank you.
And
everyone needs a hug, and we want the people of of the world to stand by women again and think of ways to protect women and amplify their voices. Talk to your representatives in the United States. Ask why women are not sitting on the table. Why women in Palestine and Israel, the people like Yael and me and thousands like us are not on the table. We need to be on that table, and I guarantee to you that the dynamics will change then. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so
for
much.
Missy, for Interact, for Tahija, for Sisters of Salaam-Shalom. And Yael, we will see each other soon, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.